Welcome back. As you know from our last session, my name is Dr. I'm so glad and somewhat excited to have you both back in my office today. Our last session was a bit extraordinary. Now, I don't see this as a negative necessarily, but I would like to revisit our last activity. If you remember, I'd like for you both to initially introduce yourselves to one another, and then I want you to assume two personas, unlike your own, and unlike the personas, you created in our last session, and have a simple conversation with one another. Let's try to make this exercise to a maximum of about 10 minutes, so that we can discuss my thoughts afterwards. Ready? Begin.
Oh, I'm going to go first this time? Fabulous. Hi, my name is DEVOGLAER. I'm a demon, and of course, I inhabit this human vessel that you all know. I love horror media. I'm streaming live on Twitch, and if you ever want to talk about anything horror or video games related, come to my lair.
Nice. I love how this is a room with just the three of us, and you just did a full sales pitch. Sure. My name is ONICKS, and I am a recording artist. I have millions of streams on Spotify. I am a pop star, a supervillain, and everything nice. Now, something that I do want to talk to you about. Dinette sets.
Hit me with it. Let's talk dinette sets. There's nothing I love more.
There is a particular dinette set that you were bringing up in the lounge room of our ranch the other day. Now, do you want to run that by me?
Henry, I would love nothing more than to run this dinette set by you. Henry, this particular dinette set is the 2009 Deluxe Kraft Mac and Cheese Commemorative dinette set.
Holy shit, Ted. Now, if I were to place all the money I have left in cryptocurrency on one dinette set, one thing that is sure to round out any American family, it would be this deluxe Kraft Mac and Cheese dinette set. Tell me about it.
Now, the thing about this particular dinette set that I find to be so special is that in 2009, there was a real big push, and you remember this.
Of course.
We're right before the 2010s, and the music industry is flooded with Kesha likes, and we got Katy Perry making all this kind of music, and I feel as though there was a real big push in dinette sets to include an additional number of seats. We had a lot of families starting to invite new people to the table.
A lot of love making.
And of course, Henry, you know that I'm an appreciator of the female form.
Of course. There's nothing better.
But, and I'm also an appreciator of the classic nuclear family, and
I am too. I studied in college.
I knew you did. And so the thing that I love about this dinette set is it went back to the classic. It is a table with four chairs.
4 chairs.
And there is always the capacity to add on more, but let's get back to classic American dinette set making.
Can you tell me about, and I like to bring this up a lot when we talk about dinette sets, because they are important, because it's like, as a man, you have to provide your family with the proper dinette set. I will not say it enough. It needs to be said. We're going into a new election. It's all about what kind of dinette set can you bring home for your family.
It's true.
Let's talk about the noodles and how they are incorporated into this dinette set.
Well, it's interesting that you refer to them as noodles because, when I think about the type of noodles that you would have in this dinette set, I and I'm a purist, I refer to them as macaronis.
Macaronis.
I
have not heard that pronunciation in a long time.
It's the classic pronunciation. And, so what makes this particular dinette set so fantastic is whether you call them the noodles or you call them the macaronis, it's thousands of handcrafted, artisanal macaronis, noodles, if you will, that are placed together using a particular type of woodwork and craftsmanship. There's no glue involved.
There's no glue at all. It's actually the same amount of butter that you would use per box of Kraft mac and cheese that is used in a mortar type of way. Sorry, almost like brickwork.
It's fascinating.
It's something to see. And tell me about because it's the chairs that really set this thing off.
It is the chairs, and so the thing about these chairs is these chairs have a particular craft logo that is embossed on the side of them. And you can't find this logo anymore because they discontinued this logo after the 2009 set. There was that really horrific fire in that factory.
Yeah, we don't.
Well, R.I.P. To all the families of the
Kraft family,
the Kraft family, and the deceased there. So you have these chairs, and
4 of them now. There can be more than 4, of course.
Well, of course.
I don't actually own this set, but I have seen it in your entryway,
That's
which is
true.
a little bit bizarre because you'd think this would be in the dining area, but you keep this one right smack dab in the front. And I feel like that really leads into the importance and the rarity of this one. How many of these were made?
There were 17 made.
17.
Yeah, there were 17 made. And I am the proud owner of one of these dinette sets. And I'll tell you, actually, I bought this dinette set at an auction once.
No way.
Yeah, it was in Saskatoon. And
they have the best auctions.
Saskatoon 2016 DinetteCon. And so I went to DinetteCon and I said, you know what, Tedward, if you're going to buy one dinette set, make it the 2009 Kraft Mac and Cheese Deluxe dinette set. Don't settle for anything less. And
You're
you know
an
what?
icon for that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Because my wife had told me, Tedward, if you come home with anything less than that dinette set, I'm going to leave you. I'm going to take little Jessica. Tiny Jessica and I, we're going to leave. So I said, I'm not letting you leave. You are the woman that I married. You're the woman that I love.
And I will provide.
I'm going to provide that dinette set.
Now, I walked in. I saw it. I saw the craftsmanship on the chairs, the almost craftsmanship. The craftsmanship.
There you go.
Now, I did see something that hung above the dinette set.
Oh, yes.
What was that? It looked like just a giant singular macaroni noodle that was rotating, but it seemed like a perfect rotation. Do you want to tell me about that?
I'm glad that you brought this up, Henry, because I know you are an appreciator of fine craftsmanship and also of fine dinette sets. And the thing that makes the 2009 Kraft Mac and Cheese Deluxe dinette set so fascinating is the mobile that goes above.
And it is a mobile.
It is
I did not know that.
Now, what most people don't know is, and this is what really starts to separate the men from the boys, if you will.
Ooh.
I'll tell you, is this particular dinette set is not a beginner dinette set. There are some, and there is nothing wrong with buying your dinette set at a Walmart, at an IKEA, heck, even at a Cabela's. I have a couple of Cabela's sets.
I have a couple of them. I've got a couple of those sets, and they do just fine in previous relationships of mine.
It is fine to own a dinette set that you are capable of caring for and taking care of. Because this 2009 Kraft Mac and Cheese Deluxe dinette set, this one has to be plugged in at all times.
Plugged in. Now, what would the electricity then do to the dinette set? Because we're talking about a table and chairs here.
We are talking about table
surface
and chair,
level.
But it also, the mobile. So what most people don't know is that this one is inlaid with little LED lights in the inside the macaroni.
Color changing?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. If you lose the remote though, they can't make another one. It's only 17 made. So again, not a beginner's dinette set. And the way that it works is it's plugged in and it sends a Bluetooth signal to this floating macaroni. It floats above the table and it lights up, and it's spinning. It's got a perfect 360-degree rotation. And
that is really nice when I saw it.
It's beautiful. And if it becomes unplugged for any length of time, which is why most people opt to get a generator put in, it's a backup. Because if there's ever a power outage or God forbid, an earthquake or any sort of, what do they call them, act of God, and the power goes out for 1 second, the macaroni will stop moving. And if the macaroni stops moving, you will instantly hear the voice of your dead mother.
What? Now, hold on just a second. Let me get this straight.
Uh-huh.
If I owned this dinette set, this
Let's
2009 Deluxe Crafts Mac and Cheese dinette set, and I was at the office with my boys.
Of course.
It's Bring Your Child to Work Day. I've got me and my twins and my daughter. My wife's at home.
Of course.
And this thing gets unplugged by an act of God.
Act of God.
I will hear the voice of my dead mother, or my wife at home will hear, or is it just the table that will...
This is what separates this dinette set from the men from the boys, is everyone who is in the family. So you, your wife, the twins, the daughter, everyone is going to hear the voice of their own dead mother. So, the kids are going to hear the voice of your alive wife as though she's dead.
And what would they be? What would the mother or wife be saying?
The voice, and here's the thing, is it's not really their dead mother. There are some dinettes.
Oh, okay.
Of course, because there are some dinette sets that you have to be really careful about. You're dealing with the occult and things like that. And, you're really, you run the risk, of raising spirits and things like that. But this dinette set is trying to play some trickery on you. Oh. This dinette set is going to tell you the time and place of your own death.
In the voice
of your own dead mother.
Of your own dead mother.
It comes to you in a vision. It's a vision that is only in your mind.
I saw a guy at work recently. It looked very much so like That's So Raven.
Oh, yeah. He
stuck his hand out. His eyes went completely white. And he just started crying. He left.
Did he ever come back?
No, he didn't, but it did. His entire cubicle was covered in the same cheese that comes out of the box of a macaroni and cheese box from Kraft Mac and Cheese.
I can tell you exactly what dinette set that was.
Which one was that?
This is the Kroger brand dinette set from 2014.
Son bitch.
And he was trying, I bet you, and this is the thing, Henry, that gets me so worked up about this.
What was that, Ted?
There is nothing wrong with loving the dinette set that you own. But when you try to pass off the Kroger dinette set from 2014 as the 2009 Deluxe Kraft Mac and Cheese dinette set, you got no choice but to vacate the office, Now,
I did see a YouTube video recently.
Well, I do
in regards to the 2009 Deluxe Kraft Mac and Cheese dinette set and what may or may not happen if you were to leave this unattended and without electricity. Sure. I saw a reenactment because there's no actual footage of any of these upsets or any of these deviations from the normal operating manner in which these dinette sets are carried out in. And this dramatization was crazy to me. Basically, the macaroni noodle that was perfectly rotating above the table started spewing out from each end of the hollowed out noodle. Basically, it was like a flood
of molten cheese.
Of molten Kraft Mac and cheese. And it filled the entire house. And the craziest thing is that, you've seen my front door.
Of course.
There's a little bit of air leakage there. For some reason, nothing leaked out of the house. The entire house filled up. All the window treatments were closed, and the entire family drowned.
I'll ask you, are you familiar with the concept of plasma? So, well, we got, you of course got your basic states of matter. You got your airs, you got your liquids and your solids, and then you have your plasmas. And your plasmas, they have the capacity to take on various shapes, and depending on the amount of force that's placed on them, they can either sort of become a little bit looser or a little more solid.
Wow.
And what looks like molten cheese is actually an ichor. It is an ichor from the hell dimension that is spewing out of that dinette set's macaroni mobile on the top. And it's like a plasma. So, that poor family, they definitely, I'm not so sure they drowned so much as they were suffocated by the macaroni cheese.
That's so interesting because in the reenactment, only one person was home.
Mm-hmm.
But they found 9 bodies.
Well, that's the other thing, too. And, I don't want to spend too much time on this dinette set because I have a question for you that I think that you're going to want to hear about. But I will tell you, what probably happened was the macaroni cheese that came out of that dinette set mobile raise the dead of the native burial ground underneath the house that house was built on.
What a rarity.
I know.
How would you even know?
You'd never know, truly.
Now, what is that question that you wanted to ask me?
Now, we've talked a lot about this 2009 Deluxe Kraft Mac and Cheese dinette set, but I have to ask you, if you had to say what your favorite dinette set is, that is a movie tie-in.
That's a movie tie-in.
That's a movie tie-in, because I know you, Henry, if there's one thing I know...
it's the Boca Raton.
You do love it.
Dirty dog.
I know
you almost got me there, because it's the 1997 Boca Raton.
I know.
Limited edition exclusive dinette set.
I knew you would.
Now, a movie tie-in, because there's only one I can think of.
I have one in mind, but I'm interested to see if it's going to be the one.
You may not know about this one.
Okay, hit me with it.
This one is prolific. When I say the name of this one, you are going to shake in your boots, young lady.
Well, listen, after owning quite a few dinette sets, I consider myself to be a grown woman.
Now, usually there are several identifiers when it comes to the namings of dinette sets. If you get the year, you got to know if it's deluxe, limited edition. You got to know the place. This one only had one word.
Tell me.
Hostile.
Oh my goodness, the Hostile set.
No, it was just called Hostile.
Hostile. Wow.
I don't think you know this about me, my friend.
Tell me.
I own 2.
How many were made?
3.
You own 2 of the 3 Hostile?
Yeah. One of them I had to fly to Poland.
Where they were manufactured, of course.
Of course, they were manufactured in Poland.
Wow.
Now, I don't know if anybody...
Tell me about this dinette set.
I mean, you've seen the movie Hostel,
Of course, numerous times.
Let's break down the plot, basically. It's like, Americans, they come to a Eastern European country. They go out to the club, they meet the wrong guy, they get sex trafficked. It's a conglomerate, a fiasco, something the world's never seen before. There's a few different parts of it. It gets, those rich people that are, paying for the murderings, all that type of shit.
Eli Roth had really done it.
You know what I like about this? And you know me, I am a minimalist when it comes to my home and my family.
It's true.
I love modern simplicity. So when my dinette set agent, Jericho, reached out to me.
Jericho.
I mean, I can't even believe I nailed that guy. I can't even believe I haven't.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I tried for a long time I tried to hire Jericho.
He told me.
I tried. I really did. But you know what? I undershot his value. And
he's worth every penny.
It was the slash on the Achilles heel of my dinette set career.
Oh, it's $16,000 a month, but let me tell you, you will find. I mean, I own 2 of them, so
the value.
And I would never have even thought about this dinette set because you would think it would be, like a metal table wrapped in some sort of a skin flesh top.
Got dangling appendages.
No, and I've never shown you this dinette set.
No, I didn't know you had 2 of them.
Carbon fiber. With LED lights inlet.
Fantastic.
And it's in the shape of just a boardroom table.
Interesting.
Yeah. The weird thing is, the company had to come from Poland,
of course,
to actually install it into my foyer.
Right.
And basically what they had to do is they have to drill little pilot holes in your flooring. I had marble in my foyer.
That must have cost you a fortune.
That was only about $287,000.
Oh,
so they drill into the floor and it creates a moat of drainage, if you will.
Is this for what would have been if the blood necessarily or the viscera?
If that's your, this is for my family.
Well, of course.
This is just to commemorate a movie that really changed my life. I saw my grandma took me to see this movie when I was in high school. She took me out of school. It was a whole conglomerate. So basically, it's got the drainage on the outside. That's what the look of it, the aesthetic is.
Of course.
And then, when you eat at it, which we do once every, few years.
Well, it's
not an everyday
special occasion.
It's not an everyday table because there is a lot of screaming.
I'll tell you, I've heard that the screams are almost unbearable.
It's only from one chair though.
Interesting.
It's the husband's chair. And there's the entire, rear end, if you will, of the chair is a speaker system.
Oh.
It's surprisingly Bose. And it is just faint, like almost like a white noise machine that you'd fall asleep to. And it's just, it's just like that. And it's not too bad when you sit on it.
Oh, okay. Because if your ass isn't in that chair, then it is just unencumbered screams.
It is. And there is one part that I must mention that is something that gets on my wife's nerves. You know, it's hard to please them every time.
I'll tell you.
It's hard to please them. So the drains, you know, that are surrounding the table, they fill up.
Oh.
I'm not really sure what they fill up with. There was no instruction manual. They installed 2 of these in my home.
Right.
I have one in the foyer, and I have one right outside of my sliding glass door to get out to the backyard.
Of course.
So the drains fill up with a very silky fluid. It feels almost like almond milk.
Interesting.
But it is black in color. So it doesn't give me an ichor.
It's given
very
more
silky. It's more of like alien blood.
Given more of a, if you've ever been to a Lush, you know,
yes,
and they tell you, hey, you know, if you got one of them little, you know, them little employees are running around, they're saying, hey, let me show you these new soaps, and they're rubbing them on your hands and things, and you know, they're giving you one of them black bath bombs.
Yes,
you know.
Same. You're in the right place. But
I get it.
So there's something they install into the wall. It's a readout.
Oh.
And it tells you the water level or the liquid level.
The liquid level.
Yes, and basically it controls or tells you how much this liquid is flowing up and down in these drains. Mm-hmm. And if you allow that to get past the purple point, as they call it, the PP.
Oh, the PP.
Purple point. Yeah. And you don't immediately press the little. You ever done those Nike Air pumps?
I have.
You felt the sensation?
Yeah, I'm
Same
familiar.
thing on the switch. You just have to tap it a few times, and it pumps that liquid back down.
Oh.
Now, if someone isn't there,
now what happens if you don't pump that PP?
and it goes past the PP, the
okay.
purple point, all hell breaks loose.
Indescribable pain.
Have you seen someone IRL in front of you vanish?
Now, when you
have you ever stared at a person and seen them fade as if it's like a horror movie where someone went back in time and, you know, screwed up with the alignment of time and people, and then somebody disappears from a photo?
Sure. I'm familiar with the concept.
Whoever is a part of this home, if it gets above the PP level, disappears from where they're at, and they end up at the table.
At the table, right there. Just.
And the entire company from Poland who did the acts of Hostel, all of the actors who did all the acting, come in full garb, in full regalia.
Right.
And they come there and they start cutting limbs.
Wow, they just start cutting you up.
Yeah, from the center, what would look like a lazy Susan comes up, and it rotates just weapons.
Well, you know, I think that you're bringing up another excellent point, which is when we talk about these dinette sets, and you know, you are an appreciator of craftsmanship. I would say that I'm not just a hobbyist when it comes
Absolutely
to...
not.
I consider myself to be almost, I wouldn't say expert level, because there are people, of course, who study these things, you know, in fine institutions, but I'm not your average hobbyist.
No.
I own one of the Craft Deluxe 2009 sets. You own 2 Hostels. You know, I would say that there, again, I always go back. I think that people often mistake their own level of ownership of these dinette sets. People want to say, hey, I'm ready for a Hostel. No, you ain't. You ain't ready for a Hostel more than I'm ready for the Swarovski 2019. I know my limits. I know my limitations.
Yeah, you know, did you see that special on Netflix, Hostel DS?
No.
About that poor single man who purchased that 3rd Hostel set?
I'll be real with you. It's on my list. I'm a little afraid to watch it, though, but now you're making me think that I can handle it.
Hostel DS, Hostel dinette set.
All right.
It was disgusting.
Horrible.
Only 1 episode. He didn't last long.
Well, there's not, I mean, well.
That's 6 minutes.
What more is there to say?
The documentary was more about him purchasing it than anything. He had to take out a 3rd mortgage on his studio apartment in Studio City.
I'll tell you something, though. I appreciate that because as someone who appreciates dinette sets, I'm not here for the senseless violence and the killing.
Because it doesn't have to be like that if you're smart about it, if you do your research.
If you just make sure the liquid level never gets to the PP, the purple point.
If you make sure the thing's plugged in, if you make sure that you say your prayer every Wednesday at 3 p.m.
You have to. People are, and I don't want to discourage people from getting into ownership of dinette sets because, like I said, whether you're buying your dinette set at Target for the first time or you're getting a hand-me-down dinette set, there is never a wrong place to start with dinette sets.
You know what, my friend?
Tell me.
I think it's only fair I ask you.
Okay.
What is your favorite dinette set that is movie themed?
I'll tell you, my favorite movie tie-in dinette set is the Mr. and Mrs. Smith double dinette set.
Ooh.
I'll tell you.
That was a career maker.
You know what? When Brad Pitt and when Angelina Jolie got together for that filming, the chemistry on set, white hot. And
Magnetic.
the production company said, we got to capitalize on this. We got to make us a 2-part dinette set. Because, of course, if you're going to go so far as to say, we got the Mr. Smith dinette set, where's the Mrs. Smith dinette set?
Blasphemy.
Why not just make 2 adjoining dinettes? You know the scene where Mr. and Mrs. Smith or they're eating that dinner, you know, and you know Brad Pitt's he's
the green beans.
It's the green beans and it's the overdone steak, you know. And so you take these 2 dinette sets and you put them together, and they have an interlocking mechanism on them,
Like a clamp almost.
a little bit of a clamp, and they fit together just right there, and it makes a double wide dinette set.
Holy shit.
The thing about it that's interesting is each dinette set comes with 4 chairs, and it goes from a set it's 2 4 sets, and then you combine it into a set with 8.
Now, is this for one family? Is it for men versus women? What is the deal here?
You could, now here's the fun part is you could take this dinette set, and if you wanted to say, you know, you're having a boys night, you know, you're having the guys over, you're having cigars, and you're playing some poker, and then the ladies are in the other room, they're talking about their housewives, or they're playing bunco or what have you. You know, you could separate these 2 dinette sets, and you could have one in each room. But then when you're ready to say, hey, it's a meeting of the minds. We got our, you know, we got Lucy and Diane, we got Marge's and Jeff's, and, you know, we got everyone at the table here. Husbands, wives, just bringing the families together. Slide those 2 dinette sets together.
So they're on wheels of some kind.
Well, you are able to put casters on them is the thing. And
I love a good caster.
Who doesn't love a caster? You can put casters on them, but it does not come with the casters out of the packaging itself. The packaging, it looks like if you took the DVD box art and you expanded it onto what would essentially be the dinette set itself. It's a little strange looking. It looks like if you took crude wrapping paper and you just wrapped a dinette set like that.
Oh, God, it kind of like a cartoon.
A little bit like a cartoon.
It's like I got you a gift and it's like a Jeep.
Exactly.
And it's in the shape of the Jeep.
Except the dinette set is in the shape of the box art itself. So you got Brad Pitt on one side, you got Angelina Jolie on the other side. They're kind of doing that back-to-back thing.
Tell me that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Tell me about the craftsmanship. Tell me about what details and features we have on this guy.
Well, you know, I'm so glad you've asked because at the time, there was a real emphasis on wood grain on these things.
Wood grain.
The visible wood grain. People wanted to feel the wood grain because, of course, you know, you got so many particle board options. You got a lot of cutting corners. But here, you got the wood grain. And the wood grain is actually, it's 2 different types of wood. It looks like it's wood grain, but it's actually inlaid different types of wood.
Wow.
You got an oak, and you've also got a mahogany.
Is that to represent both Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Mr. and Mrs. And so this is what makes it interesting, because you know where we're talking about how you have, you know, the men's side and the women's side, you have the 2 separate tables? Well, both of them have the oak and the mahogany. So no matter...
It's a shared.
Exactly. It's a marriage, you know?
Can men sit on the Mrs. Smith side? And can women then sit on the Mr. Smith side?
I'll tell you, it's 2024, Henry, and I think that
So there's no consequences there.
no, at the time there were people who would say, well, you can't have the men sitting at the women's table and the women at the men's table. But opinions have changed, and what's interesting is that this dinette set is capable of sentient thought. This dinette set, when you put the two halves together, is capable of creating an AI war mind that
War mind.
a war mind that if you're not careful, it will attempt to open up a program and launch a nuclear warhead at the nearest planet or planetary object.
That is not the Earth.
That is not the Earth. So
What would be the benefits or downfalls of something like that, an event like that occurring?
Well, the benefits are fairly limited, and so what you got to do is you got to make sure that you're pleasing the table. And what the table wants more than anything is for a family to be sitting down having dinner at it, And
Well,
so
what if it's lunchtime and everybody's at work, everybody's at school?
that's fine as long as you let
At
the table
night.
know when you come back together. And the table is also an understanding war mind, So if you came to the table, you said, "Hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, commemorative dinette set. Hey, the family is in Boca this weekend. We're in Boca Raton, so there's not going to be a whole lot of action at the table. But we made some microwave dinners and we've placed them as a sacrificial offering on the table.
Now that is interesting.
Then the table is satisfied.
Is it satisfied based on the meals themselves, or does it have to be a calorie amount?
It's more so a table setting amount, because let's take, for example, your family, 6 people in it. And if you were to say, hey, we're going to Boca, and you only put five table settings, the table is capable of memory. And it's gonna come to you, and it's gonna in your dreams. You're gonna get a readout, kind of like, remember the film The Matrix?
Of course, yeah. I love the
So when
Matrix.
they got the green text running down, and it's saying, hey, I'm Neo, hey, take the blue pill, and it's saying,
Where's the six set? Where's the six set? Where's the six set?
it's saying that over and over. So with the second you wake up, you're putting that 6 set there. Tell you.
Even if you're in Boca?
Well, you best get home and do it. I'll tell you.
Or else it will shoot a nuclear warhead at a different planet.
I'll tell you.
I
Do you remember a little planet we used to have called Pluto?
Yeah.
Whatever happened to Pluto?
Son bitch.
Goddamn son of a bitch. Tell you.
Son bitch. Damn it. Now, because I wasn't seeing any downfalls of that happening. I was like, you know what? I don't give a fuck about other planets.
Who cares?
I don't give a flying rat's ass about
Mine Mars, for all
Venus,
it's worth.
Jupiter, Uranus.
Well, who cares?
Did not know that about Pluto, and that caused a big stir here down on Earth.
And so now you see, that is the downside, But so it goes back to, you ask, can you have men sitting at the women's side, women sitting on the men's side? And the table, it's capable of sentient thought, and it's also capable of adjusting its views. When the table was first...
It's very interesting.
When the dinette set was first introduced, very stringent rules. Men on the men's side, women on the women's side.
What year was that?
Well, this came out in 2008. This film, I'm not sure 100% when, but this dinette set came out. It was released in 2008. And, at the time, we're just starting to get the no hate movement. We're getting the HRC campaign is really kicking it up. You remember those white photos with all the celebrities with the duct tape over their mouths?
I do not, but thank you for letting me know about those.
You're welcome. So, at the time, there were a lot of opinions going around, and people were saying, no, you can't have, people sitting at you can't have
What a
men.
liberal movement for a dinette set. You usually don't see that in this community.
I know, and it's a moment that I'm happy to see, because I think that there's a lot.
You're a lot more liberal than I thought you were.
I'll tell you, these things, opinions are able to change, and I think that as we sit at dinette sets, we have to include other people's opinions at these dinette sets. Or you know what? Because here's the thing: prior to the early 2000s, ask yourself how many dinette sets were made with other people in mind.
Oh,
Not a lot.
not a lot.
Not a lot.
Are you gearing up for some sort of dinette set related campaign? You sound like you are doing some sort of campaigning. Is there a lead in here, a tie in here that we're missing or something here?
Henry, and maybe I'll leave you with this. I just want to say that when it comes time to vote on the Council of Dinette Sets board members
CODS
committee,
CODS.
when it comes to vote for the CODS, I want you to think about me, Tedward, and think about what I have done for the dinette set community, for the world, for dinette set enthusiasts like yourself. And I think that there's a lot of people out there who would say, we need to get back to traditional dinette set values. But I'm looking forward for dinette sets. I ain't looking back. I'm appreciating the history of dinette sets, but I'm saying, what about more?
That's very interesting. I'm glad that you said that, because you know what? I love you as a person, and I disagree with your values. But I will stand behind you because of dinette sets.
Okay. Wow. That was compelling. In my opinion, this feels like progress. We should absolutely meet again if you're both up for it. I would love to be able to talk to you about...
Wow.
That felt nice.
Yeah, I like that even though sometimes we disagree about things, we can come together for couples therapy and really just work these things out.
Absolutely.
Ugh, you're my best friend.
Love you.
Couples Therapy is a fully improvised narrative podcast created, produced, and hosted by ONICKS and DEVOGLAER. Edited by Jack of All, with artwork provided by Nathan Noyes, and production assistance and additional voice acting from Ryan Whitcomb. Any resemblance to events or persons mentioned in this production are purely coincidental and not reflective of reality. Make sure to follow the stars of Couples Therapy on their social media platforms at @IamONICKS and @DEVOGLAER respectively. Got advice for the happy couple? Send your questions, comments, and doctor's notes to weneedcouplestherapy@gmail.com.